You just have to keep going. You have to want it enough to wake up tomorrow and do the same thing over.
This was me being a hustler.
The only way that I've gotten to this point in my life is to try to treat people the way I want to be treated.
Welcome to Ground Zero Growth with your host, Sam Sapp, owner of Lockbod.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Ground Zero Growth. I'm joined today with my guest, Christian Roduner, junior partner at Apollo Insurance Group. How are you doing today, Christian?
I'm alive. I'm still wishing it was the 4th, but we're here. So
I get
just kind of
that.
getting back in the
I
swing
just
of
got back
things.
from I just got back from a vacation, so I get that wholeheartedly, man. I tell you what, though, I was actually kind of eager to get back. Once we came into Monday, I was like, let's go, let's conquer the world. So,
No, for sure.
yeah. So tell me about what you're doing over at Apollo Insurance. I kind of like to start with what's Christian doing currently, and what's Apollo Insurance Group doing currently?
Okay. So currently my title, which is a junior partner. So the company, we're a health insurance brokerage, Apollo Insurance Group. We're based in downtown Lee Summit. My current
Mm-hmm.
role is, so I'm one of 7 junior partners that help essentially run the company. Primarily my focus is to manage agents, train them, teach them how to speak insurance, how to actually hold a conversation, and just really shape them into a professional young individual. Since typically our hiring ages are anywhere from 21 to 30 is typically where we're at. Like I'll be 28 this year, so it's not like I'm necessarily an experienced leader age-wise, but I've been doing this ever since I got out of college. So that's kind of my day-to-day right now.
Yeah, man, insurance is a wild thing, especially right about now. It just seems like there's a lot.
Yeah, with
There's just a
the
lot.
administration changes, there's a lot that's happened, and there's a lot that's coming as well. Um, Health insurance is a, because that's primarily what I do, is the health insurance. Like we do the dental, vision, life, we do all the stuff, but my primary role is health insurance. And out of every insurance type of insurance there is, whenever someone talks about health insurance, that's usually the one where people are like, screw that. I don't want anything to do with it. And it is the most changing type of insurance, truthfully, just because our administration affects that far and few. So,
I don't know how you navigate it. I know when you and I first connected at a group, and it was kind of a situation where at the time we had good insurance through my wife's work, and what really stuck out to me was you were like, hey, this is as good. This is just as good as anything I can get. Maybe let me know when life changes. And sure enough, when she became stay at home and I came full time into this, all of a sudden we had to take another look at it, and it's been a really blessing to kind of have you in the corner, because navigating it, man, is just it's next level, and it's
mhm.
wild to me. We live in this weird world where the role you go to can be strictly based on insurance. And I think I still mentally reject that premise, even though I have lived in it. I've lived in the muck. But the
Mhm.
concept that, like, oh, I can't get better insurance anywhere else, so this is the company I'm going to stay at. Or, oh, I can't go to your company because you don't have good insurance, which is weird to me because I'm over here
Uh,
like, I mean, if the premium's an extra $400 a month and they're going to give you an extra 1,000 in salary, but it's not that simple, right? Because if you don't have
uh-huh.
the medical, you can't get the medication over at that other thing, but you can get it here. The monthly premium doesn't even matter. It's now all of a sudden I've got to pay this much extra for all my meds and this much. So it's just, I don't know. It's a wild thing to me, the notion of
Oh, well.
where you work.
Uh-huh. No, it's truthfully challenging. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that happens in the market, I mean, month to month basis. Like some carriers drop out, some carriers, we add carriers, you name it. And the crazy part about health insurance as a whole, like stats show that bankruptcy 75% of the time is caused by medical bills. So knowing that in the back of my mind and knowing what happens and how it changes on a yearly basis, like the where our market's at today is a complete 180 to what it was when I first got into this. So, and it's almost, you got to change on the crack of a whip sometimes. When things change and regulations change, like I've had to move 15 to 20% of my current block of business to a whole new carrier because one carrier went under. Or, hey, this
Mm.
carrier's rate spiked up. Or, hey, like a local hospital around here, St. Luke's is a big one, which my fiance actually works at. When they got acquired by BJC, the insurance contracts between both those medical systems, it was like a racket sport. So one, they stopped taking the XYZ and we had to move, and it's always changing.
Yeah.
So
No, that's a crazy thing. Where do you think it's going? We're going to go down kind of the wild speculation west, so to speak, but you're probably closer, at least than me, in understanding the different changes that have been made, and hopefully there's at least some sort of theme underlying.
mhm.
What do you think the future is for insurance? I mean, do we? Let me put it this way: do we have an administration with the changes that are made that cares enough to try to fix it? Because we can all agree it's a little hectic.
Short answer, it's going to be crazy next year. Long answer, I think it's going to plateau out. So, for example, the healthcare marketplace or Obamacare, call it what you want, it's all kind of the government regulated body of coverage. When Biden was in office, he passed this law called the American Rescue Act, and this was a COVID relief law that gave individuals more government assistance. So whatever we pay taxes, a piece of what we pay goes into a pool of money that helps pay for portions of premiums based off of an individual's income. So when Biden was in office, for example, someone who's, let's just say, making $100,000 for a family of four household income, they got a lot more assistance from the credit perspective, so their premiums were a lot cheaper. Next year, Trump has completely pitched that law, so all of a sudden, families' rates are just going to go. We don't know how much higher, but it is going to go up.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know if it'll be as bad as, because my first year in insurance, this was before Biden had passed the law. A family who was making $100,000, like a bottom line bronze plan option was typically running from the $700 to $800 range. If they were older, of course. Now, that same scenario, people are getting a plan for $200 to $200. So I don't think it's going to go back to that $700 or $800 mark next year, but there's a lot of unknown. October,
Hmm.
late October, before open enrollment is what I call like the window shopping era, when I work like 100 hours a week. So when that happens, um, it's going to be like World War III in the office, honestly. So more to come, but that's what I know thus far.
That's just yeah. That's yeah. That's just wild. That's just wild to me. Just all of that in general. Um. Okay, so let's zoom back in on Christian. Let's kind of rewind the clock a little bit here. So that's where you're at currently, right? You're operating
Mhm.
the wild west of insurance, health insurance specifically.
Mhm.
Now we rewind the clock to kind of like high school, the high school era. Where were you? What did you see yourself becoming? Because normally in high school, it's not like we grow up like I want to be into insurance. You know, it's
Yeah.
I want to be an astronaut or a police officer or a firefighter. Of course, high school is right around the period where maybe our parents or external influences are telling us, well,
Mhm.
might it be a good idea to go for a degree in, legal, accounting, or whatever? So what are you receiving? What are you planning on doing with your life about this point?
My completely honest with you, when I was in high school, I had literally not a clue what I was going to do with my life. like zero. I Baseball was always my passion. So the town that I grew up in, it's Rossville, Kansas. So it's just off I-70. It's like 20 minutes west of Topeka. It's almost like a farming cul-de-sac is how I like to describe it. So our town on a good year would have 1,000 people. Like my high school class, I graduated high school with 35 kids. So all I ever knew was sports because I played four in every like my time in high school, and then the farm. My grandparents we had a family farm. It's still ongoing for like the last 120 years. So my summers were literally playing baseball, helping out on the farm. That's it. No idea what I wanted to do. I had no aspirations to take over the farm, actually. I wanted completely out of it. So I was really banking on getting a scholarship to play baseball at the next level. And I remember it would have been our last week of my senior year, no offers. I was basically to the point where I said, screw it, I'm going to enlist. I'm going to go try to be a Navy SEAL, or I'm going to go to the Army, you name it. If I don't, School's not for me, truthfully. I never have been super good at school or super intrigued by it. So I was going to go to the military. I get a text from a coach that my high school coach knew, from Colby Community College. It's this junior college out in western Kansas. Still same bit, small farming town, that kind of stuff. I got a walk-on spot. So that's what I did. I majored in business, um, went to Emporia State, played there, got a business degree. Don't even use it. There's a couple guys here that I played with at Emporia that I found this company, and I've loved it ever since.
Hmm. So okay, that's that. Now that was a lot very quickly. I'm trying to decide exactly where to dig into. So let's start with
Hmm.
kind of the family farm. So it's been my experience talking to a theme that I've started to discover. So I've got a family. We've never really worked together formally, and so the notion. And I've seen other folks, hire and work with their wife or their husband or their
Uh,
brother, and it doesn't, in my experience, work out great. But I've talked to other people that have been like, I can't see doing life without it, right? I can't see not working with my family. And a theme I've seen, because
uh,
at first I was like, how do you pull that off? And then the first person was like, well, I grew up on a farm, so I'm used to working very closely with my family in work-like conditions, with my dad being my
uh,
manager, you know what I mean? And so, and then she also grew up on the farm, so naturally, we're partners in the business or whatever. And what's interesting is that theme has been common enough now that when I see spouses, couples, brothers working together, I'll ask, be like, out of curiosity, did you grow up on a farm? And it seems to be a common theme. So I guess the ask there is, what was like working with the family? Is that something you could see doing again? Is that
for
Does that ring true with you
for
in your mind?
if I to put it this way, when you grow up on like a family farm to where like blood is tied to it, it's a completely different realm. I could absolutely do that from the farm because it's part of me, essentially, my whole family background, that kind of stuff. That makes it a lot easier to, one, not have a lazy workers like the common nowadays, like because it's for the family. You literally raise cattle, you raise what you eat, and then you put food on the table with livestock and crop. I mean, it's in that regard, I could definitely see myself working with my family in that regard. But to answer your question, my fiance Annabelle, I absolutely could never work with her at this company, just because it's it's a different scenario. Like my blood isn't tied to a business, for
Yeah,
example. Like
yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah, yeah.
kind of in a work hard, play hard scenario, and I'm not particular how I go about my day by day, but I almost growing up in a small town, not military style, but you know how to like you get what you put out of it, which is really forgiving in my business now. I just couldn't have my fiance, to be honest, tell me what to do or how to do something in my day to day. Um, so I don't know if that answers your question, but completely splitting that
No,
apart in two different scenarios. So,
it does. Thank you. So you talked about growing up in a small town. Kind of tell me about what that was like. So we just came back from Townsend, Montana. About 2,000 people, I think, is what the population was when I looked. 3,000 people. And I've basically grown up in Kansas City. I mean, it was a small suburb of Kansas City. But, you go into Townsend, and if you have a medical emergency, they've got to life flight you out to, like, a Billings, a bigger town, which in retrospect now I'm even thinking life flight requires a helicopter. Where's the helicopter coming from? Like, there's these weird logistics. I asked him, I was like, hey, out of curiosity, volunteer fire department? It's like, yes, volunteer fire department. And so I'm guessing they don't have a police force. They probably have a sheriff at least. So, but then you're waking up the sheriff in the middle of the night. And this is, again, these are all weird, wild, and foreign concepts to me. Because for even just a small suburbia, I was still close enough to Kansas City that these notions just kind of go beyond me. So it's almost like a rewind in time in my book, living there. So kind of help me out with what it was like. I mean, I told him the folks leave their cars unlocked, and it's like, at 3,000 people, if somebody breaks into your car, you're gonna probably figure out pretty quickly who it was. And so what's it like in that sort of town? And everybody knows what's going on too, right?
oh yeah. The whole thing with small towns is everybody knows everybody and everything that you do, good, bad, ugly, or horrific. So whenever you mess up, the whole town finds out in about an hour. It spreads like wildfire because the way all these little towns, they have Facebook community groups, kind of like how Blue Springs and Lee Summit have it too, and Kansas City. It's even worse. So the whole setup of my hometown, so there's one stoplight in the whole entire town. It doesn't even turn green. It is literally used at a four-way intersection as a yield sign. We have one Casey's. We have two bars. I mean, one or two bars. One keeps opening and closing as the years go by. And then we have one grocery store, a high school, and a post office, and that's it. So it's not like I'm out on my own island. Like Topeka, Kansas is like a 35 minute drive. So like you have access to civilization, I guess. Um, but it was super. I loved growing up in a small town. Could I still live there today? Absolutely not. But growing up in a small town really taught me how to actually treat people well and the right way with respect. And everybody's just super nice, but everybody likes to gossip when people mess up. So it's a very challenging atmosphere, but it's good in your younger years, in my opinion. So
That's fair. Well, everybody likes to gossip when you mess up, which is an interesting thing because in a town of a couple thousand people, I mean, you're young enough. You probably had the internet and video games growing up, so that maybe kept you out of some degree of trouble, maybe, right? Okay. I just think through these things. Like a buddy of mine grew up in a small town, and it's like they were known for. They were no. I mean, this is back in the days when we're talking, and weed's definitely not legal. And he's describing dabs, which for those that don't know, this is when weed is put through this process of being basically liquid THC, if I'm getting it right, and I may not be. But he described the whole process of making it. He was very familiar with how to make it because it's what his town was known for, because there was nothing to do growing up in the town. Go outside and play. It's like, play what? Play ball? Play what? And so when you've only got so many people, you kind of get into trouble. So, and it's interesting because that, it's in a small town like that and everybody knows and gossips about it. It's like, okay, well, on one hand, we're supposed to stay out of trouble. So I guess that's where that idle hands adage comes from, right? Let's just put them to work.
Yeah.
Problem solved.
No, for sure. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of work involved. Our community, so when I was in high school, like football is like the absolute, everybody who lives in the town lives, eat, and breathes Rossville football. That was what we were known for. And when I was in high school, we were the best class that ever came through. Like we when I was there, we won two. Is it is it glitching on your end?
You're fine. Keep going.
Okay. When I was there, we were the best class that ever came through sports wise. We won two back-to-back state titles, and I lost one football game in 4 years when I played, and then they won it 2 years after. So like that is just kind of what fuels the town when it comes to gossiping. But
Yeah.
what happens is when you're really good at something, I'll be honest, there was high school parties all the time because we were so good. I wasn't the big
Yeah.
partier. That happened when when I went off to junior college. That's when I started drinking and doing stuff that I probably shouldn't have. But from like my other classmates, like there was people over at the lake, there were people partying, people were getting caught, you name it. And it was just in that aspect, it kind of just gets slid under the rug because we're winning, we're really good. Who wants to get in trouble by the police? There's like three cops in our hometown, so and they're all relatives of the guys on the team. So it just kind of gets slipped under the rug. But sports was what really fueled our community. And if people were bad, like they've had bad
Mm.
teams recently, now it's just like gossip, 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 pointing fingers. That's really all it is.
Really? So interesting.
Uh-huh.
So there was a lot of judgment, good and bad, with regards to how well you played the game. You won.
Uh,
It's a lot of drinks and hurrahs, and who cares if he was underage or not. And if you lost, there was a lot of could have done better, should have done better.
uh
You could
Pointing
have done
fingers.
this,
He
could
needs
have
to
done
sit. He
that.
shouldn't play. Why is my kid not
Mhm.
playing? If it's kind of how it is today for kids who have people who have kids and they don't play for sports, or they do join a team they don't play, and parents do complain, and it's just unfortunate how the world works, but it is. But in a small town, it's that times 1,000.
Well, it's okay. So it's an interesting conversation. So, because here's what we're kind of talking about is a world where the consolation prize, the winner, the everybody's a winner ribbon thing, right? That
Uh-huh.
is theoretically. I mean, I'm not necessarily a proponent of that, but that's theoretically a response to the world you're talking about, unless I'm wrong, and I want to make sure I'm understanding correctly. Where, hey, it's a big deal that you win. You either win or you lose,
Yeah.
and we want you to win because the whole town cares about this. Which is a wild concept
Uh-huh.
now because I'm actually thinking of some small towns that are very wrapped around their local high school football team,
Uh-huh.
and I didn't think that much about it until now. They'd interview the local high school. Oh shoot, my mind fails me now. Quarterback or whatever, and how the game went and didn't
Uh-huh.
go, and it's just all good fun, right? Something to pull the community together, but it probably puts a lot of pressure too.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. It's almost like it's not on the scale of whenever like Patrick Mahomes is interviewed, or like a Chiefs player has a bad interview, that kind of stuff. It's not to that level on the media fire, but it lights the whole town on fire when we lose, or there's a bad interview, or the head coach had a losing season, you name it. It's just, yeah, it can get pretty nasty.
There was an interesting scenario where I saw a small town recently. We're in a few communities, and I like to track different communities. And there was a couple folks that graffitied. They weren't even from the town; they were from like out of town, right? And they came in and they
Mhm.
graffitied the local park. Now the local park had just opened up. It was this big deal, and it was like a high schooler and some, I don't even think he was in college, and they come in and they graffitied it, and they ended up getting like jail time. Like they threw
Oh yeah.
as much of the book at him as they could get away with throwing, which on one hand, I'm definitely anti-crime. On the other hand, I'm kind of over here thinking, man, it just seems like it was them being stupid, like real stupid. And don't get me wrong,
Uh-huh.
we should let them know how stupid they were and hopefully prevent them from doing it in the future. But on the other hand, too much jail time seems like you're potentially destroying a future. Um,
Hmm.
so anyway, it was just kind of interesting to watch. So I kind of want how would how was stuff like that handled?
Oh man. Let's just put it this way. If your family has been around the town for many years, like my family's been Rossville natives ever since the probably the late 1920s, 30s. So my family has been around there forever. For somebody who's new, a completely new name and would mess up in that regard, that would happen and they would get ran out of the town. It's just unfortunate how your last name kind of affects how people look at you in a small town, which I'm not super into
Yeah.
that regard. Like I was always nice to everybody, you name it. But for older generation, let's be honest, they're pretty cut and dry at who they like and why they like them. And they could care less. They'll
Right.
throw the whole, like that whole scenario, they'll throw the whole entire wood, take you to the woodshed if you mess up in that regard. Because we
Mm,
had three cops in our town. I was related to
mm-hmm.
one. There was another guy in my class who was related to another, and then someone who was a year older than me with the crew we used to run around. They were related. So if someone like me or them were with the individual who got caught, absolutely, it's getting slipped under the rug. But if not, and they don't like you, it's bad news.
Mm. Wild, wild concept.
Which
So you
sucks.
went off to college. Remind me where you went to college.
So 2 years I spent at Colby Community College, and then I
Okay.
transferred to Emporia State, and I played there for 3 years. I took my COVID year, and then after
Gotcha.
graduation came here.
How was it getting out of a small town? Like, what was
I
that
was ready.
transition like?
I
Yeah.
I no looking back for me, to be honest. I'll never forget it when I went out to Colby. So it's like probably 4.5 hours from where I grew up. West, you just hop on I-70 and go to Colorado, basically. The second I got dropped off, my mom was like, "Are you gonna come back and visit, or this kind of that? Are you planning on moving back, getting a job here?" I was like, "Mom, respectfully, there's not a chance. You couldn't pay me to live back in Topeka area." Um, I was just ready to tackle life, do my own thing, build a business, you name it. I was just ready.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think there's really something to that, too, to going out and making a name for yourself. So,
Hmm.
has do you think overall that upbringing experience has created a good foundation for you, or are there moments where I mean, it definitely sounds like it would be a transition, right? You're going from a world where
Hmm.
you know everybody, you know the local cop, like you said, the name's kind of tied to what does or doesn't happen, into a world where it's like, Rodner, what's that? Who's that? What's that mean? Why does that matter? Is that
Uh-huh.
important? Should I know that? Should I know it? So, has that been a transition for you?
Oh, absolutely. And it's been, I think I shared this with you a couple weeks back. So, like, my last name, this is a big reason why I've gotten to where I've gotten to is like my last name's cursed, in my opinion. Like, I'm the only Rodner that's ever graduated college, and even the few that have graduated high school, the last name is completely tied to drug addicts, alcoholics, criminals, felons, like just a horrible scenario. Um, and I experienced that growing up. Like my parents got divorced when I was Oh gosh, 7, 6, 7. I grew up in kind of an abusive household, and my whole entire life goal is just to be the change, to be the Rodner that completely changes the projection on the last name. That's something that me and my fiance have just boated around since we've known each other, and we've wanted to get married. So we want to be like the complete 180 of what every other Rodner's been, or at least known for being.
So I want to talk a little bit more about this. I interviewed somebody that
Uh-huh.
the women in the family went out and changed their last name and completely started
Uh-huh.
a new legacy. And if I'm honest, when I kind of think about it, this is something I'm a little bit partial to as well. Because, well, especially with the current administration, like you're talking about, you think about Trump, that's not just a last name, that's a brand that has a whole
Uh-huh.
brand tied to it. And never mind your opinions on the name of the brand. I like to think about, you watch movies even sometimes too, where there's like a book handed down and signed, like a secret legacy or a whatever, right?
Uh-huh.
This is a concept that's always kind of fascinated me because while Sap, I mean, it's there's definitely a family there. There's a lot of us. I think it's a pretty cool last name. I don't know how much of it is really ensconced in its own sort of legacy, so to speak. So it's something I'm definitely been partial to. So can you kind of help me understand? So you talked about growing up, the difficult households, family
Uh-huh.
separated. Can we get in a little bit more detail? Because I also want to know, like, how many siblings do you have? Are you in the middle? What you decided not to be a felon, but somebody else did. So
Uh-huh.
what's that
I'm
makeup?
actually an
What
only
had
child.
you? Okay.
I'm actually an only child, so my it was my dad's side. My mom has the whole
Okay.
family background to where our little small town's from, the whole 9 yards. Um, my dad, he had MS, he had multiple sclerosis, and he was alcoholic, drug addict. Really wasn't a part of my life in the beginning ever because he was always at the bar, drinking, pool, you name it, just not really around. So I never had a father figure really growing up. Um, then one day when I was 6 or 7, a police car shows up. Parents are getting divorced. My dad filed for divorce. My dad's dad, my grandpa passed away probably 2 weeks, 3 weeks before that, before he showed up. Then we see this cop car, and then it just completely tears me apart. You name it. I mean, I was 6 or 7. Really, I had a I had a head on my shoulders, but it wasn't a good one. I haven't gone through all stages of life, and so it just kind of made me feel dead in the water, truthfully. Like, what's going to happen? How are we going to live? My mom was a caregiver for my grandparents, actually. So money wasn't great. I mean, heck, there was nights where the lights were off. We didn't have enough money to put the lights on. Just help out on the family farm. Our grandparents took care of us. We stayed there if we had to. So growing through those struggles really is kind of what has pushed me because that day, like, because I was 6 or 7, I knew that there was a reason why I didn't go around. We never went around the Rodner side of the family. Like, we went there a few times, but definitely not the common norm when you want to spend time with family. And so when I realized why and it kind of settled in, then I just flipped the switch. I was like, screw this, never again. No one deserves this. It happened to me, fine. But for the next generations to come, my kids will not be treated how I was treated. There won't be a scenario to where
And
they
when
don't know if the
how old
lights.
were you? How old were you when you made that epiphany?
Pretty soon. I mean, 8, 9,
Shortly
10, because
after? Okay. Okay.
the divorce took 12-ish months to get finalized, maybe 2 years. I can't really remember, but it was almost just like something clicked, and I was
Mhm.
like, I don't care what I do career wise. Doesn't matter where my life takes me. I will just never put my family or my kids in that scenario ever again. I'm going to give them everything that they ever want.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. There's actually a lot there now. Okay. What was navigating that like in a small town where everybody's talking about everything?
We had a lot of support, to be honest.
Mm,
We had people helping us food wise. I mean, I have out of my 35 high school classmates, I bet 7 of them were like our circle. So we would pop around, stay at their house, that kind of stuff. And then um, after everything was finalized and my mom, she then remarried. Oh, how old was I? I want to say 11 or 12 at the time. It was just before junior high to an older guy. I mean, Ronnie's his name. He's been probably the biggest blessing on my mom and I's life. And then he just kind of stepped in and then took care of us. Worked his ass off. One of the hardest working guys I've ever been around. Um, and then it just changed the trajectory of where we were going. He was a godsend, to be honest.
that's cool. Um, that's fascinating. And then only child, how does that I mean, I suppose we got a while to go, but out of curiosity, how does that work with regards to the family farm theoretically? Are there more siblings now?
uh Yeah, my mom
And
has
I can kind of see where you're
6 of
coming
them.
from too, because it's like it's almost like your dad was in your life long enough to give you the name.
Yeah, that's how it is. After that, because I had summer baseball tournaments, I had other stuff like he was around because he passed away when I was just when I got to Emporia State. He passed away. I didn't allow him in my life, to be transparent with you. Like I did
Hmm.
the 6 or 7 years for what he put me through was enough, and I didn't want to even associate myself with that because it wasn't good. It wasn't good for my family, and it wasn't good for my friends or any of that kind of stuff. So I just completely removed myself from his life, truthfully.
Gotcha. Yeah, 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 yeah. So you're on a quest to make something in the name.
hmm That's my
That's
why.
cool. That's
And I'm
your
getting
why.
married too. That's another why.
It's a good one. It's a good one. So that remind me when you're getting married.
Late April of next year.
Late April of next year. That's
hmm
exciting. So we've got a lot of stuff going on after the insurance chaos, not
Yeah.
during, not at 100 hours a week.
Yep. So everything's already booked for the wedding. We got the venue. We actually just booked the DJ this week. That was the last thing to do. She's done a lot of it. She's amazing. I'm just I work a lot as is, and she's kind of just taken the reins and run with it. And we're super fortunate because our parents are helping out too. But we're getting married in a barn in a small town, Oskaloosa, Kansas, and then we're gonna spend a week in Greece for our honeymoon.
There you go. That sounds like a lot of
Uh-huh.
fun, man. That sounds like a lot of fun indeed. So what was it like playing baseball? What was your transition into insurance, man? I mean, how the heck did we get to insurance? So you went off to baseball. You said the friends you played with in baseball were like, "Hey, we've got this thing in insurance. Come over here to Kansas City and let's go."
So baseball was fun. I was a utility player. I played everywhere. I was just a pretty good hitter, and if I was hitting, they'd throw me anywhere, truthfully, except shortstop, catcher, pitcher. Um, how I got here, I remember the day I had been I interviewed for like tech, like, because I have a degree in information systems. So I was interviewing to be like a help desk to start off. I interviewed at Northwestern Mutual, and we're like a month out before I am just an adult. And I had no clue, no job offers, no interviews, hardly at all. I think I had like two or three. A couple guys that I was graduating with, one had already taken a position here, and one had a guy that I played with the year before had been working here a couple years. He's like, "Let me get you an interview." I was like, "You know what? Screw it." Um, Interviewed with our sales director. He's still here today. It was literally one interview. He was like, "Out of 10, how do you feel about the job?" And I was like, "Dude, 10." He goes, "Well, you're hired. We'll offer you. Are you in?" Like, where do I sign, man? And then 5 years later, here we are.
5 years later. That's a stint to
Uh-huh.
be with a company. All throughout insurance. Has insurance been good
Uh-huh.
to you? I heard a statistic once that insurance, I want to say it's insurance, it's either insurance or wealth advisor or both, statistically produce the most millionaires from a
Yeah, it's
career
been very
perspective.
good. I'll be on because it's a residual income position. So when you start, they give you like a stipend for a couple months, and then after 3 or 4 months, based on your commission, you have to pay it back over time. But after you pay off, so we always say 18 months is like, hey, when you're gonna actually see what you deserve, like money wise. But I mean, full transparency, I couldn't imagine me ever making the kind of money I have. Just
Hmm.
5 years later, when you build up a big enough book, and it's residual based, then it's just I'm to the point now where I solely work off referrals as well. So if you do it right and you treat people the right way, it's super, super, super forgiving, honestly.
When it comes back to that, like, are you one, how do I, there's a book I read once that, and I'm trying to remember the name of the book now. It's The Moment I Need It. It was a very interesting book, and it was kind of a similar sort of circumstances like insurance. They brought in a bunch of folks, and they were like, "Would you prefer commission or salary?" And some people said commission, and some people said salary. And the guy goes, "I was
Uh,
trying to decide which one, and I thought, you know what, commission. I think I can go out. I think I can get it. You know what I mean?" And he goes, we came back the next day and everybody that said salary wasn't there anymore. And he's like,
uh,
it was a trick question. And the question was basically, do you think you can hunt and get it or not? And if you think you can hunt and get it, then that's who we want. And, he gave, it's exactly like you're saying. If you can go out and if you can hunt and if you can get it, then, and if you can build that book of business on a residual income based thing, then yeah, I would think it could be beautiful.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
And what we always say is you should either, if you decide this isn't for you, you need to quit within 3 months or before 6 months for sure. But if you're 12 months in and you're thinking about quitting, like you've wasted a complete year of your life. If you get to the breakthrough point, to the 18-month to 24-month mark, you're really going to kick yourself in the foot for quitting less than 18 months. Because, yeah, I mean, you want to talk about being broke. I was eating peanut butter and jelly and ramen for about 24 months of my life right out of college. I just had enough money to pay for rent and survive. That's about how it was. So it's what
You
you kind
said
of sign up for.
now. I don't know if I fully understand that. You said for 24 months. You said they when you come on, you're gonna know in 3 to 6 months, or you should hold off to 18 months.
Oh,
You're not
if
gonna
you
know.
think that there is any shot that you're not going to be successful or you're not bought in
Mm-hmm.
by the 3 to 6 month mark, if you're wasting your time, you just need to go find somewhere else to work, truthfully. Um, because typically,
You
like
know what
our
I?
average probably first year.
No, keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
Well, I was going to say our average first full year income for an agent is about 40 grand. And then typically after that, it doubles and triples year over year. But if you don't want to get through the first 18 months, then you're really kind of wasting your time, is what I always tell people.
Well, okay, so here's why this is actually super relatable to me because I remember, so I had never had that I can think of any sort of sales position. I mean, I was a tech, I was an engineer. Transparently,
Uh,
sales was kind of like what's the evil empire a little bit. You know what I
uh,
mean? And so the more work sales did, the more we had to do, right? So it was just we almost didn't want
uh,
sales to happen. Like we wanted to keep our job and we wanted to make more money, but the less
yeah.
sales happened, the less we had to work. And so um, I never held a sales position really for most of my life, most of my career. When I went out and started a company, all of a sudden I have to be in sales, right? And I remember the
Uh,
first time I got a check, that was exciting, right? Because it's like first check, like they handed it to me on my merits, not on some work or some salary or some predetermined, like on your merit only. Here's a check. And I remember that. So I still have the picture of the check.
mm-hmm.
Um, I sent it to my wife. I was like, I got paid. They paid me. And then, but that was residual. Our business is such that we do
Uh,
things on a subscription. So it's a residual thing, right? So then I'm going to get it the next month, next month. And then that second check, which like you said, came at least 3 to 6 months, 2 or 3 checks at that point. That's when it starts like, wait, can I keep stacking these? And I think I can. And I think I can, hire people and I mean as long as I keep going forward and as long as I keep stacking these, so I really like Rich Dad Poor Dad. Are you familiar with that, Robert
oh
Kiyosaki?
yeah. Oh yeah.
Are you the cash flow, the
Uh-huh.
game, what is that? What is that game? Rat Race Cash Flow
Oh
King or
yeah. Rat
whatever.
race, cat float. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we know what we're talking about. That I love
Uh-huh.
that analogy, the cash flow analogy, and Grant Cardone actually does a good job of this too. Grant Cardone at one
Uh-huh.
point, because he's a little bit of a hoot because somebody was like, "How much money should you have in savings?" or something like that, and Grant Cardone goes, "I don't have hardly any money in savings for the longest time." He's like, "Because I always knew I could go out and make more." Now I'm not suggesting anybody here do it that way, but the analogy is you can
Uh-huh.
use cash flow like it's a savings account if you do it correctly with the whole multiple streams
Uh-huh.
of income and blah 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 blah, because you just stack it. I mean, and it's a slower roll, right? An extra dollar instead of $100 one time salary. But that dollar
Uh-huh.
adds up. And if you're going to keep getting the same dollar plus another dollar plus another dollar plus another dollar, um, it's a beautiful thing. And I think you're right that
Uh-huh.
it's not everybody that'll figure that out at month 3 or 6, right? A lot of people are like, I want to go
Uh-huh.
back to stability. Nothing wrong with stability. I want my insurance benefits
Uh-huh.
and I want to make sure XYZ versus the other kind of person. Apparently, I'm one of the weird ones too, Christian. Because at month 3 to 6, I was like, wait, I can stack this. This can keep going.
Exactly. That's what I got too. I remember when because open enrollment is like the time to where you multiply your income like you I mean I've seen people double it or triple what they made the year before. Um, if you have a really good open enrollment, all what you sell for a 1-1 policy, it's just stacked for what you had previously. They typically say we book about 75% of our next year income literally in a 60-day window. And that's why I work so much. I remember after my third open enrollment, because I had the best open enrollment in the entire company, when it hit, I was like, my gosh, I could never imagine that it would be to this point. And then it's because from at that point on, it's just almost kind of like fun. It just that's when you hit past your 3 years, that's when you start closing deals left, right, and center, and then it's just the stacking is it stacks a lot quicker. And To me, that's the addictive part of my job.
Well, and one thing we've talked about that I find so insurance and accounting is a bit fat, or specifically tax filing, is interesting to
Mm-hmm.
me in that those have a built in deadline, right? I mean, if people could just file their taxes whenever, they would never
Mm,
file them, right? Even if you had to, even if the government was like, you have to file your taxes. When? Somewhere between now and when you die.
mm,
They'd wait. We would, natural human, me too. I'd wait until I was
yep.
day before deathbed. But you can't plan your deathbed, right? So then I'd have
Mm,
somebody, if I was doing it right, I'd have somebody. But then if they were like, well, we're just going to slap you on your hand if you don't file, like, okay, I guess I'll wait till you slap. I guess I'll just die, and then you can slap me on my hand after. You know what I mean? Like it wouldn't
mm,
work. But they say you have, it's like, no, 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 you have to file on this day, penalties extended over here, but that's about the most you get to. It's a built in sales deadline for an accounting firm, for a tax filing firm, because
mm,
it's like, look, so everybody's going to call you the day before or the week before or whatever. I mean, on one hand, negatives being you're working a lot during a short window,
mm.
pros being you can't have as many kick the can. Now, and you correct me if I'm wrong here. I would love to hear your opinion on this, but in my mind, you can't have as many people kick the can because they can only kick the can up to the day before deadline, realistically, right?
Yeah.
Plus some special
You,
exceptions.
yeah, there's some special exceptions. Typically what happens is, I mean, honestly, the marketplace, they need to hire a lot more people. There isn't enough people to make that place run the best. So typically they extend it about a week or two. So, I mean, my second
Hmm.
open enrollment, they extended it a whole month just because, I mean, you're right. People put, like, if I don't enroll people, like, people self-enroll, that kind of stuff. But typically, the common American who do their own enrollments, they do it a day before, 2 days, or 3 days. And a 3 day window, typically about 65% of enrollments just hit the marketplace and it crashes. Every year it happens. And then it gets extended. So, yeah, a lot of people kick the can to literally a breaking point to where it breaks the marketplace half the time, usually. And in some other states, like California is the worst one I've ever worked with. Idaho's another really bad one. Those, their deadlines typically get extended. I mean, last year got extended 2 months because they don't have enough employees to make the sucker work like they should.
Mm, that's wild. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Interesting. Interesting. So now, in most cases, and kind of so I understand, because it's an interesting dynamic to me, but in most cases, like in the case of the marketplace and whatnot, the insurance company ultimately is giving you a residual kickback as a result of you pairing the recipient with the insurance company to begin
Uh-huh.
with, correct?
Yeah, so my MPN, my license number, whenever I do an enrollment into the marketplace for my clients, my license number is attached on their application, and then carriers receive that notice, and then that's where I receive the commission.
Gotcha. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. And one thing I've noticed too, though, just working with you. So this is what I want to try to find out. This is one thing I've noticed working with you on my own. If you were to like insurance companies, right? It's like what Blue Cross, Aetna. I mean, there's like
Uh-huh.
three or four. But one thing I've noticed is you seem to come up with these obscure insurance companies that I didn't know existed. Is there anything stopping anybody from becoming an insurance company? Like, how many insurance companies are out there? I know it's a wild and dumb question, but I'm just trying to
Uh-huh.
understand. You seem to know the landscape better, and you seem to find these insurance companies that offer the benefits needed. That's like, and that I look at them and I'm like, I didn't know this company existed.
Uh-huh. There's always people coming in and out of the market. Like honestly, Aetna's one, which is it's funny enough, the one you're on, they're leaving the marketplace next year. So
Yeah.
they're no longer going to be offered. So people come and go. The way the marketplace works is every single carrier they file for a subsidy report or an allot amount of government tax dollars that they can accept per year. And depending on how their financials look, the government will only give them an allowable amount to help basically pay for a portion of their premiums. So since I've been in this business, Aetna's left, Bright Health was another one that left, Cigna left Missouri. All of these carriers on the marketplace, there's more and more coming and going every year because it's all based on how the government treats them from like
Mm-hmm.
their tax dollars that they're allowed. Um, as far as private carrier options that are offered off the healthcare marketplace, those in that space, those are the carriers to where you have to be aware of your client's scenario
Mm-hmm.
because a big hovering factor in all of insurance is pre-existing conditions health-wise. Every single carrier that's not on the healthcare marketplace has different parameters to where a high blood pressure is covered by these guys, but no, it's not. Or there's so many minor details that go into the private side of healthcare. And from a consumer basis, it is about as exhausting as it comes. There's carriers that have like a 200 pamphlet policy doc to where coverage details are laid out, and obviously you wouldn't want to read that, neither do I, but I know what to look for, to where there is so many brokers out there that are just trying to make a buck from like private carrier options that don't
Yeah.
treat people the way they are. Um, I don't know if that answers your question or not.
No, well, and pre-existing conditions is a wild enough concept in and of itself because
Uh-huh.
when I'm growing up and I hear pre-existing conditions, I'm over here like, well, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, if I'm an insurance company, health insurance or life insurance is a perfect example. Life
Uh-huh.
insurance, let's say I'm going to insure you for life, and I know you have a heart condition. Obviously, I'm going to want to avoid insuring you. So,
Yep.
and health insurance wise, let's say chemotherapy probably isn't cheap, and I happen to know you have cancer, and you happen to be applying for my insurance the day after you discover you get cancer by XYZ. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to want to cover you. I mean, it makes perfect sense. Now, flip
Uh-huh.
side of this, right, is I don't ever want to go to the doctor.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as pre-existing conditions if you never see the doctor. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Because you don't know. So as long as you never see the doctor and you continue to maintain a degree of health insurance, you don't ever have any. You look healthy as a horse because you don't ever have any pre-existing conditions.
Uh-huh.
Meanwhile, I might be walking around with some sort of something, and I'd never
Yeah.
know because it's like I never went to the doctor. It's just a
Uh-huh.
wild concept to me.
Yeah,
It's
it's a wild
because
game. It really is that people play.
yeah, right. It's yeah, it's almost kind of George Orwellian a little bit because
Uh,
it's like health wise, you want to get health and care, but you don't want Big Brother to necessarily know what you have because then next thing you know they may or may not insure you if you're switching insurance. Like, I mean, to be clear, if you have the same insurance and you maintain the
uh,
same insurance for forever, then the conditions don't necessarily matter as much because this is what the carrier wants anyway. If they get you through the whole life, then they
uh,
probably made out just fine, even if they've got to pay out for. But this scenario where you're switching the healthcare insurance scenario that you're describing, right, where we've got to switch all these different carriers, and then all of a sudden these conditions really matter. What you
uh,
have, and you're bringing it into the next one. It's really going to affect things.
uh. No, yeah, pre-existing conditions are like the biggest demon, truthfully, because some private carriers don't cover any pre-existing conditions to where, like, for example, I had my meniscus surgery 15 years ago. Some carriers won't even cover, like, if I hurt my left knee again. But some other carriers, how they consider what a pre-existing condition is they have a 2 year like look back period in your medical history. So like my knee would be covered if I were to tear it again. So there's just little nuances that people just don't fully understand. And that's why people like me exist.
Well, and they don't necessarily make it easy either by
Uh-uh.
any stretch of the imagination. There's the notion that you go in and you pay for medications and you pay one price, and then theoretically the insurance company is paying another price. So they don't necessarily make it easy. It'll be interesting to see how that whole thing kind of pans out
Yeah.
long term, because I don't see insurance just up and disappearing, but also I do kind of glamorize my mother, who talks about a war. She's like, I remember a world before insurance where you just showed up with cash and you paid for the meds. And I'm over here like,
Uh-huh.
what's that world look like? Because frankly, at this point, I can't see going to the doctor and paying ticket for surgery, but I can see a world where if we rewound the clock, that would almost be possible, right? You'd have some emergency fund. Hopefully, surgery would cost way less because there's a lot less hoops and convolution involved. But I don't know. We're here now, so it's kind of like, what now?
Yeah, what really shook up healthcare, and I hate to say this, and this is really kind of where all of this unknown has been, it's because of the marketplace, truthfully. Whenever that was
Yeah,
started, it was started back in 2010. So pre
yeah.
2010, pre-existing conditions, that's just how insurance was. They never covered pre-existing conditions, and that what that caused is rates were to be a lot cheaper. But what the marketplace did is they come in and say, hey, we're going to cover everybody's pre-existing condition no matter what the heck happened. If you had cancer last week and you're good and you get cancer again, we're going to pay for it no matter how much. All of the financials in our medical world, it's ran off of the Medicare baseline rate, reimbursement rate. So what marketplace plans do is they all run on an HMO network or an EPO network. So what that means is those networks from a reimbursement perspective to like a doctor, a hospital, facility fees, that kind of stuff are way worse than it is like if you get it through a job. You have a PPO network. They pay providers way better on the reimbursement level so where they don't have to spend as much money because like for example, St. Luke's for like let's just say St. Luke's is with United Healthcare on the marketplace. They have to charge like 16,000% of what the Medicare reimbursement rate is to make a profit on their medical services. As opposed to a group plan, they only got to charge 155% of the Medicare level. They get paid quicker, they make more money, and they don't have to spend so much money on medical equipment to make a profit. If that, I don't know if that makes sense, like how like the financials of that kind of stuff comes into effect.
Probably. Honestly, I'm probably gonna have to re-listen to it because I could tell you were in the zone and I was kind of following
Uh,
you, but then I was also like, you kind of kind of lost me too, which explains the degree of convolution there. So it's just it's a wild thing, and it's interesting to think that about how the marketplace dynamic. I remember when that happened. I remember when that passed.
uh,
That changed a lot of stuff because I was at the time I had a full time for those on I'm using air quotes. I had a full time position without benefits, so they were getting me at 40 hours a week, and I wanted that. Is what I wanted. I wanted 40 hours a week, but I wasn't getting benefits because I didn't care. It didn't matter. I honestly, what I cared about was the fact that I was getting 40 hours a week. And people were telling me about insurance, but I'm over here like I was 20s. I don't know why. Healthy as a horse. It was like so I don't know if I really cared at all. Maybe I should have. Maybe I shouldn't have. I don't know. And so in retrospect, I worked off just fine. And
uh,
then the marketplace hit, and the first thing that happened that I cared about was every private organization, including the one I was in, it kind of something they did across the board. They knocked me down to 29 hours was the most I could get the next week. So I went from 40 hours a week to 29 hours overnight. And so all of a sudden I'm in the red. I can't afford to live. And so I needed to find a new job quickly that gave me actual 40 hours. And so that was the first big thing that I remember happening, because I went from 40 hours to 29 hours. The next interesting thing was then all of a sudden, like I need insurance and I can get insurance, but I need to go through the marketplace. So what's interesting is I don't even remember what rates were like before the marketplace, because I didn't have health insurance for the most part before the marketplace. And that's still wild. All that is still wild. Because yeah, I mean, I don't know. It as a 20-something-year-old at the time, and I was working a great job that I loved. And then all of a sudden I couldn't anymore, really. They wanted to keep me. They were going to offer me a full-time position, but I needed to stay there for like 3 more months or something. And I was like, I'm going in the red, guys. I don't live a world where, what do you want me to do? Go get a credit card? That just doesn't, I don't know if that makes sense. So I'm going to have to find something else. So
For sure.
That changed a lot.
Yeah, the marketplace screwed up a lot of things. It's in a way better state than it was 4 years ago. Currently,
Yeah.
Who knows next year with what's going to change.
Yeah. Well, and it's wild too, right? Because it's like, I agree with you that it threw off a lot, but then there's also probably a lot of people that are going through the marketplace that it's like, I don't know. On one hand, I'm over here like, if it's what I get insurance through, isn't it helpful in some way? So it's just wild. It's a wild mess. We need to redo it. Let's change the whole system. Let's just do away with insurance altogether. See what happens.
We could do it. I would just lose my job, but I'll go find something else. I probably hate insurance more than anybody that watches this, to be honest, because I just know what goes on.
Well, it's yeah. I mean, honestly, cybersecurity, hackers keep me in a job. I love the notion of one day them not existing. That would be fantastic. I love the notion that one day we don't need cybersecurity. But the problem is we do. And what's wild to me, to your point about being on the forefront and hating it the most, I see it enough that those doomsday stories that you're like, that's all made up, I've seen them all firsthand enough to where I don't have to work in theoreticals anymore. I can tell you about the story where they forgot the password to the backups and it took us 24 hours to get them back up and running. But by God, we managed to pull it off because we tricked the hackers. I can tell you about the story where, we couldn't trick the hackers and the data was gone. I could tell you about the story where the hacker got in and started emailing a bunch of people. And, it's just, it's wild because this stuff happens regularly. Rare enough that there's still plenty of people that are like, what's the value? Which is weird to me, but common enough that it's like among enough companies, I've seen enough that I've got quite a few stories for quite a few things.
For sure.
Unfortunately. So the most common one tends to be people just assume backups are happening.
I know what that is. That's part of my degree a little bit. No, I'm in the same boat. I mean, I have to carry my own insurance. I mean, do I like it? I mean, it does what I need. But I've seen the horror stories of people where a policy terminates or there's a bad actor that changed their policy that wasn't me. And then somebody gets a big hospital bill that doesn't get covered. Like, as much as I wish we didn't have insurance, like, the financials in our world, like, the world's not perfect. Kind of same with you. There's always going to be someone who's a hacker to where someone needs the help. I mean, vice versa for me. There's always going to be somebody who's self-employed or a small owner that doesn't get benefits that needs my help. Like the stuff's not going to go away. It's just kind of how the world we live in.
No. Thank goodness we have people to help navigate it, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's kind of move to wrap up, I'd say. We have two.
Okay.
Is there anything you didn't quite get to? I just want to make sure I got. Sometimes there's a question or two I missed. What should I have asked?
I don't think anything. I think we hit it off pretty good. We hit it on the nose today.
I think so. I think so. So there's two questions in wrap up we like to ask.
Okay.
The first one is, so we have a motto, if we've seen further, it's by standing on the shoulders of giants. Who's been a giant in your life, Christian, that you'd like to pay homage to in this moment?
My grandparents, first and foremost. And then probably my junior college assistant coach. Those are the people that gave me the kick in the ass to wake up when I needed to wake up and taught me everything that I needed to know how to go about life and do it the right way.
That's good. Thank you. The second one is, if there's a pithy saying or sort of guiding principle that you found to be true again and again and again, what would that be?
From a professional perspective or a life perspective?
Ooh. Give me both. If you've got both off the top of your head, then give me both. If there's one, so this is one of those like shoulders straight, shoulders back, head straight, just that thing that like again and again and again. Somebody just recently said outputs over outcomes. That's mostly in work.
My professional advice to anybody who is looking to build something or progress throughout their career, start their own business, anything they want to do in life, professional wise, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. There always is. If you handle your business the right way, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. From a personal piece of advice, I mean, it's cliche, but treat everybody how you want to be treated, truthfully. That's how my personal life has been ran ever since I could talk. That's about the first and only phrase that my mom ever taught me. And it just always was going to stick.
I think it's a very significant one. So that's a good one. Thank you so much for joining me, Christian. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Bye, everybody. Hello, everybody. I wanted to thank you for listening to today's episode. It's such a blessing to be able to interview such fantastic individuals. If you're interested in listening to more, we look to post every Thursday at 10 a.m. You can find us on YouTube, Amazon Music, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Thanks so much. Have a blessed day.